people living in the Banjul and Combo surrounding area, I don't think so they can complain that not enough clinics and hospitals are there, doctors and nurses to look after them. I am concerned about those patients who live in far in upcountry, which obviously not every village, every area has got a sufficient clinic for the patient to be. Those ones who have got access to the clinic, then they should make use out of it.
So I've seen women develop and grow and become very strong here, actually, and I'm always concerned about women's health here. Yes.
What would be your general advice to women, having, been with them and interacting with them?
Yeah, well, I think women are strong here, beautiful, strong women who are making great progress in their careers. Just think about the responsibility of having a child. It's not just your responsibility, of course, it's your partner's responsibility. Wait until you're mature. Wait, if possible, until you've had some sort of education so that you can be independent if anything should happen within your relationship, that you will be able to support your child if possible. I know this isn't always possible. Try to leave having the babies a little later and make sure your partner's sympathetic on that issue, and that you have the extended family around you to love and support you and help you with domestic chores.
Coming back to you, Doctor, since we are running out of time, I think this is just the first program, because when you're talking about pregnancy, it covers a whole lot of area, a broad spectrum. So this, in our subsequent program, of course, we'll have you again to discuss more details about pregnancy. Now, just sum up your final words on the program.
As we said, we opened a new chapter about the pregnancy to talking breakfast show, and as you can see, I have written quite a few things to discuss it, but obviously at the time
we will discuss it in our subsequent program.
But I just joined Liz and yourself talking, the families supported the pregnancy, and also definitely to make sure that from the very beginning to attend any clinic is near to you, because in the very first visit in the clinic, it could be most important, because in that visit, if you're healthy, that's good, and you're still repeating going to the clinic. But if there's anything developing during the pregnancy at very early stage, it's better to be treated, to be diagnosed, and then when they've been diagnosed, obviously they will go through a healthy pregnancy. But if you don't, and don't really, those things is not been discovered at the very early pregnancy, that could develop during the pregnancy, and they might, many women, they lose the children, and they put themselves at risk. And when next program we're talking about high-risk pregnancy, then we will discuss what kind of disease can develop during the pregnancy, how could be diagnosed.
Obviously, a whole range of issues will be discussed in our subsequent program. Thank you very much for joining me on this edition of the health program. Like I said earlier on, I will still emphasize in our subsequent program we will continue to talk about pregnancy, because it's a whole broad spectrum. It covers a whole lot of areas. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you very much, Doctor. Back to you.
We remind you that you're still watching the Breakfast Show, and as we slide into the show, we now move to the rendezvous segment. Now, the rendezvous segment, normally what we do is we're trying to bring people on board, people we think they have a story to share, people we think they can really inspire you and me. This week as well, we talked to one of our colleagues. He's somebody who was well known, especially during the early days of GRTS, and he's no other than S.R. Jallo. He was the sports desk man, you can call him. He was the one responsible for sports, and of course, yes, he was also reading the news as well, and editing, and a whole lot of things. But after a while, he traveled to UK, where he spent a quality time, and he was also one of those fortunate Gambians to take part in the London Olympics as a cameraman. Esa has something to share. His days at GRTS and life after GRTS. We join him with Ramatulai Jallo.
Wow, it's good to be back. It's another breakfast show, rendezvous segment, and I am Ramotulai Jallo. This morning I have a special guest, Mr. Esa Jallo. Everybody knows Mr. Esa Jallo from Gambia Radio and Television Services. When it comes to sports, he is there. When it comes to reporting, he is there. When it comes to editing, he was always there. So, Mr. Jallo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Esa Jallo, Wanyu. Who is Mr. Esa Jallo? Because people know you that time in Grts and suddenly you're going to mess.
Well, I came from Brikama in first place. I went to Brikama Primary School to Muslim High School and then to Radio Gambia in 1992 and until when the TV came, then we moved on to the TV. So when we started at TV, I started as a news announcer, reporter, and then went into to editing.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was work then at Grts? Before we go to satellite, we were at the Kairaba, on the Kairaba route, and it was called the Exchange.
Yeah.
And so many facilities then wasn't. And how do you see Grts as a staff then? Because
yeah, in the beginning it was really hard. What happened was when the TV was set up, a group of us came from Radio Gambia, and some came from Film Unit, and some other people were employed outside those two institutions. The difficulty we had was we were broadcasters, but very few of us know what TV is. You know, so we were actually learning while we developed. So that was the number one problem. And then the second problem is we had this equipment, and then most of us don't know how to use them. Thank God there were people who were experienced from the Film Unit, and with the help of some of the technicians, you know, we were able to learn and learn this equipment and start using them the way we should. So that was the difficult part of it. It was a challenge. The whole country was excited about the TV, and then it was the onus on us for us to make something happen. So that was a little bit tricky part of it. But then we came out, you know, fairly good. And then the advantage we had was because a lot of people knew that we were trying our best. We weren't very experienced, so we made mistakes, and people knew we were learning.
Okay.
That is different now, because now that the TV has been there for years, so any mistake, people will say, well, they should have known this.
Okay.
The first part, technically, GRS has gone very, very far. With the kind of equipment I left and what I've seen now, what is happening, it is a huge achievement. It is a huge lift.
Okay.
Going to satellite, it isn't easy. It is expensive, and it involves a lot of technology about it. The new building brought in some new equipment, and I can see you've got XD cameras and all sorts of things. That part just leapt forward. Unfortunately, programming, I have to be honest with you, I think if there is progress, it's very, very little.
Okay.
Yeah, in the entertainment sector, I can say there has been progress. In the production sector, the news, the quality, I think it's gone down a little bit. I think what is responsible for that is a lot of people left very quickly, and it was difficult for others to catch up.
Okay.
So that I can attribute that to that. And the second bit is maybe people have been trying to catch up, and because of that, the bit of training has been left behind.
Okay.
So people have not been properly groomed to come in and do the job the way they should do it.
Okay.
I think when we started broadcasting, when I was in Radio Gambia, before I came on air, I started in May. I started working in Radio Gambia in May, and I came my first time to come on air, recorded, not live, recorded, came in August. And then after that, it was about 2 or 3 weeks, then I came live.
Okay. We had that you were in the UK. What were you doing?
I was studying.
Okay.
I started doing media production, so I did a City and Guilds course in media production to have a gateway to start. And then from there, I went to University of Salford University. I did foundation degree in broadcast television. And